Administrative Law Research, Part 3, Updating Regulations and Further Research. So how often is the Code of Federal Regulations updated? The answer depends on what source you use to access the CFR. The eCFR is generally the most up-to-date source, and it's free on the internet. It is current within a few days. Today is May 8th, and the eCFR is current as of May 6th. A CFR section in Lexis and Westlaw will indicate how up-to-date the section is. We see that the regulation here about organ donation on Lexis is about a week out of date. Westlaw is also current as of April 30th, 2015, so we will want to check for any changes to this regulation made in the past week or so. Key citing the regulation will reveal new changes to the regulation. Simply click on the History tab, click on Validity, and you will see a Federal Register section listed that amends the Code of Federal Regulations section. Recall that the Federal Register contains new final and proposed regulations that come out daily. So if I click on that Federal Register section, the Federal Register section is a final regulation issued on May 8th to allow for organ donation by an HIV-positive person only to another HIV-positive person if certain conditions are met. Previously, no organ donation by HIV-positive persons were allowed. Shepard's on Lexis does not pull up new regulations, so we would have to use something else to update our CFR on Lexis, such as searching the Federal Register, or you can use regulations.gov to update. You can use regulations.gov to update a regulation. Just click on Advanced Search. And regulations.gov has a convenient template where you can enter keywords, select final or proposed rule, put in the time period you want, and enter the agency. So we will see that there was a final regulation concerning organ transplantation issued on May 8th. You can also search the Federal Register to update the Code of Federal Regulations, i.e. you can search for final regulations. You can also search for proposed regulations in the Federal Register if that's what you're looking for. On Lexis or Westlaw, simply start typing Federal Register into the big box to access the Federal Register. On Lexis, you can choose to search via the table of contents or simply by getting the documents. So here is a search of the table of contents of the Federal Register for organ donation HIV. It pulls up the new regulation enacted on May 8th. You could also search the Federal Register for the CFR section. For example, you could search for 42 CFR 121.6 and put that in quotes to see if there were any changes to that particular CFR section. And when I do that, I get the new regulation enacted on May 8th. There are also trackers available to alert you of changes in the regulations. You can get an email when there is a new proposed or final regulation. These services include setting up an alert on Lexis, Westlaw, or Bloomberg, using regulations.gov or Scout. Regulations.gov and Scout are free. Further research. You may need to look at the statute that gave the agency the authority to promulgate the regulation. The regulation itself will contain information as to what part of the U.S. Code the agency receives authority from. Lexis and the CFR on the free FDsys site also shows the statutory authority. Key citing or shepherdizing the regulation will lead you to cases, administrative decisions, books and articles, in other words secondary sources, that discuss the regulation. On Westlaw, click on the Citing References tab above the regulation to find these further authorities. You can find the information and links that are in this video in our library research guides. Just go to the library homepage and click Research Guides, and then click Administrative Law Guide. Click on the Federal Regulations tab. In the next video, you will learn how to research agency decisions. If you have any questions, contact Research Services at the Cleveland Marshall College of Law Library.